Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Milena, and today videos will be making one of these little pincushion cubes, which are very helpful in your sewing room. I have a big one that I use in my sewing room, and I made this one using a 5 by 5 inch squares. I just like the bigger cube, but today we'll be making this smaller one, and this smaller one is made with a 4.5 by 4.5 inch cubes, and as you can see, it has pockets all around. And you can put your sewing supplies in, and then you can put your pins on top. So for the smaller cube, what you're going to need is you're going to need fabric of your choice. I have here an office supplies print and a cat. So I don't know, maybe you like office supplies and cats. But anyway, just pick a fabric of your choice, and you're going to need to cut 6 squares of your main fabric, so to speak. And you're going to cut that at 4.5 by 4.5. So I'm going to cut 6 squares here, which are 4.5 by 4.5, and I will create your cube. And then the pockets we are going to cut to 4.5 by 6, and then we'll fold the 6-inch side halfway to create a pocket. You can also cut it to 4.5 by 5 if you want a shallower pocket, but I just prefer longer pockets or deeper pockets for my stuff, so I go with 6. We have 3 here. We need 3 more. Four. It's 2 more. So 4.5. and 4.5. Oops. Apparently I don't know how to. 1, 2, 3, 4.5. Yes. 4.5. Need 2 more here. So 4.5 by 4.5. And 1 more. Okay, so we got 6 of these, and they're 4.5 by 4.5 squares. And then for pockets, we are going to do 4.5. It's 6, and then you're gonna fold the 6 down. And I'm gonna cut 4 of these. As I said, you can cut 2. I will be cutting 4, just because I like to have pockets all around my cube. Just gives me more storage space for my never-ending sewing supplies. Okay, we need to cut 1 more. 1 more for the pockets. So, oops, that was a wrong cut. So 6 inches, Milena, 6 inches, okay. So there we are, right here. 6 by 4.5. It's not that hard. Okay, so once you have 4 for the pockets, and you have 6 of the cube pieces, so you're going to save 2 of them for the top and the bottom of the cube, so you won't be putting pockets on the 2. You will be putting pockets on the other 4. So basically what you're going to do, you're just going to take your 4 by 6 inch or 4.5 by 6 inch piece and just fold the 6 inch this way. You fold it in half, and that will create a 3 inch, so 4.5 by 3 inch pocket. And then you're just gonna place these pockets on one of your cubes sides, so it will be like that. So that is your cube side. You're gonna take your pocket and you're just gonna place it down on these pieces. So your cube side and your pocket goes down to the bottom. You're just gonna line the row edges all around. And you're gonna do that with all 4 of your pockets, and you can press it with your iron so it's nice and flat. And then once we get that situated, we are going to get this cube sewn together. Another thing I have put on my smaller cube, I added a little loop. I didn't put that on my big cube. That was my first one, and I didn't think about it, but I added a little loop so that you can carry it from station to station in your sewing room if you want to. So we'll cut a little piece that is about, oh, I don't know, maybe like 5 inches by 2 inches, like a strip of fabric, and you can use any fabric you want. I'm just gonna use this cat fabric, whatever you like. So we're gonna cut 2 inches. Oops. Two inches by about 5, I'm gonna say. That's what I cut mine anyway. Okay, so you're gonna have a strip also for the loop. Okay. Then you're gonna take your strip and you're just going to make a loop for your cube. So you're just gonna fold the fabric strip in half and then open up and fold in half again, and then fold in half again, and you're just gonna make a little loop like this. That's gonna go into your cube. Okay, so now once you have cut all the pieces out, what you are going to do, you're going to put them all together, and you will just sew them down with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So you're just going to place each side of the cube together. Just make sure you catch all the layers, so your pockets and everything. And you're just gonna sew them down with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Make sure you back stitch at the beginning and on the end. Okay, so we have one more side that we need to sew down. You can baste the pockets down before you start sewing it all together. I didn't, but you can. Basting basically just means to take put your machine on a longer stitch and just tack something down so it doesn't shift on you. Okay. So once you're done sewing all of the 4 sides together, then you're just going to close the loop by sewing the first side of the cube with the last side of the cube. Okay, so now this is you're gonna have something like this, basically just as a square. Okay, so now you're going to take your bottom piece, and you can sew the top piece, of the cube first. I like to do the bottom first because I like to put some rice in the bottom of my cube to just kind of weigh it down a bit so it doesn't fly all around. But if you're not gonna put any rice in, if you're just gonna stuff it with like polyester stuffing, then you don't need to, you can sew the top first and then sew the bottom, but it's up to you. Okay, so now once you have this done, you're going to take either top or the bottom, whatever you choose to do. I'm gonna do the bottom, as I said, and you're going to place it on one side of the cube and make sure that is centered on one of the sides, and you're going to start sewing. You won't be sewing all the way from the top, but you'll start sewing about a 1/4 inch away from the from this piece here, so about a 1/4 inch down. You can mark the 1/4 inch seam for yourself if you want to with the marking tool. I'm just gonna freehand it here. So you can also feel this seam here, so you're just gonna start sewing from that seam down to the other side, and then you're gonna stop a 1/4 inch away from the edge, the end of your side. Just make sure you catch your pocket in. Okay, so now you're going to have something like this. So that's one side sewn to your cube, and then you're going to sew the opposite to that again. Place it nice and centered, and you're going to sew a 1/4 inch away from that top edge. So just start a 1/4 inch away from that edge, top edge, and back stitch and go down to the other side of your cube. And then again stop a 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch away. Okay. So you're gonna repeat that for all 4 sides, and then once you're done with that, then you will do the same to the top or to the other side, whatever you choose. Okay, so here we are on the second side, and I'm just trying to finish this second side of the cube. So the top of the cube in this case. so we have one more side, and when you're doing this, this is a little bit fiddly, so just do the best that you can and just line it up with the side and like kind of tug on it and pull it into the position that you need it to be. Okay, and when you start to sew, just make sure you pull the one of these sides kind of away so that you don't catch it into your seam. And then again, start a 1/4 inch from the top and just back stitch and then sew that down and stop a 1/4 inch away on the other side. You will kind of see the stitching from the previous seam, so you just go to that stitching and then stop and back stitch. Okay, and now we are here on the last side. We have one more side to sew, so this one I'm going to leave about a 2-inch opening so that I can flip that cube inside out, because you don't want to close it all the way and then you won't be able to flip your cube to the pretty side. Okay, so again, start a 1/4 inch away. Again, you do have that seam from the previous, or the stitching from the previous seam, so you just start from there, back stitch and stitch maybe about just a little bit, like maybe 1 inch, and then back stitch again, and then scoot over down like about 2 inches down, maybe not even that, but, and then you just finish with this seam and just again stop a 1/4 inch away from the edge. Okay, so now you have everything sewn and you just have this hole here, and that's the hole that you're going to use to flip your cube inside out. Before I flip my cube inside out, I like to go around and trim all these corners a little bit. Just make sure you don't cut your seam. So just kind of take your scissors and just trim it kind of, I don't know if you can see that. So just kind of like on an angle, but don't clip your seams. That's what that's going to do, is just going to reduce the bulk so that when you flip your cube inside out, it looks nice and polished. Okay, so now the cube has been sewn, so now you're gonna use that hole that you left in your stitching. You're gonna gently pull it out. Be careful, don't pull it too hard or you might rip the seams and then you're not going to be happy with yourself. So just take your time and pull it inside out. You can leave yourself a bigger opening if you need to, if you think that you might need to, but you should be okay with about 2 inches. So just flip that inside out slowly. Okay, so there you go. Just gonna poke your corners out, make sure that everything has been stitched. And I forgot, when we were sewing the sides together, I forgot to tell you to make sure that if you want your loop in there, your hanging loop, to sew that in to your seams as well. So if you want a loop, if you don't, then don't need to worry about it. Okay, so there you go. So now the corners are all nice and finished, everything's been caught in. So now we have this hole here, And as you can see, the pockets are all nice and sewn in. Now you can, if you want to, you can divide your pocket, like not all of them, but you can maybe divide 1 or 2 pockets if you need, like if you want, you know, a couple of smaller pockets. I didn't do it on this one, but there's a few other ones that I did divide a couple of pockets as well. Okay, and so now you're just gonna take, as I said, I like to put some rice in there, so I just made this like what do you call them, the funnel. I don't have an actual funnel, so I just made it with some cardstock, and I'm just gonna put that in there into that hole, and I'm gonna put about, oh, I don't know, like a half a cup of rice, just to weigh this this pincushion down. As I said, you don't need to if you don't want to, but okay, so they're about half a cup. I mean, you can put as much or as little as you want, but I do about half a cup. And so that's now in the bottom of my cube. And then what I'm going to do for the rest of it, just gonna take some of this polyester filling, and I'm gonna fill the cube so that it's nice and square, but don't overstuff it, because if you overstuff it, then your pockets will be too tight and you won't be able to put your tools in. So just stuff it to the point that you like it and it looks nice and plump and square. And then once you're done stuffing it, then you're just going to take your thread and needle, and you're just going to sew it by hand. You're going to sew this opening closed, and then you'll be done. And then you can put your tools in, and ta-da! Okay, so here is your cube all done, and all that is left to do is you just stuff it with your sewing supplies, and you're good to go. And there is a little loop for you to carry it from station to station, and this thing holds a good amount of stuff. So I really like it. I use it in my sewing room. As I said, I made a bigger one for myself, but these smaller ones they fit pretty much about the same amount of stuff as the bigger one. And with Mother's Day coming up, I'm sure this would be a great Mother's Day gift for anybody that sews. And if you don't sew, I do have a Facebook page. The link is in my bio. You can go check out my page, and there is an album with all of my sewing items, and then you can just buy it from me if you want to. Just send me a message, and you can even customize your cube with different prints and colors and whatever you choose. So yeah, so thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.